Welcome to the Octagon channel. Today we're going to bring you news from the world of MMA, boxing, and WWE. And here we go. In this video, Shara Bullet meets Ronaldo, Conor McGregor's flashes of anger, Strickland threatens Plessis, Joe Rogan calls for MMA rules change. Shara Magomedov has received a tip of the hat from one of the biggest sporting stars in the world, Cristiano Ronaldo. The undefeated middleweight contender is back for his 5th appearance inside the Octagon this Saturday in Saudi Arabia. The 30-year-old was always going to turn heads due to his look and fighting style, but he has backed that up with his performances since joining the UFC in 2023. He's recorded 3 consecutive bonuses in his recent outings, and his matchup in Riyadh on February 1st promises to be another fan-friendly watch as he takes on fellow striking specialist and former welterweight Michael "Venom" Page. With the number 14 ranking next to his name, Magomedov could seemingly find himself in the title picture if he is able to string together 2 more wins. His upcoming clash with MVP may not be the most difficult test for him stylistically, because both men prefer to keep the fight standing, but they have a track record for winning in style. Some of the biggest fights in combat sports have taken place in Riyadh in recent years, and they always end up having a star-studded front row. Ronaldo, who currently plays for Al Nassr in the Saudi Pro League, has become a regular audience member, and it looks like that will be the case for the Octagon's return this weekend. A recent video posted by Ronaldo's club showed the former Real Madrid and Manchester United star meeting up with Bullet, where they got to briefly meet each other during fight week. In an interview with Michael Bisping, Magomedov revealed what was said between them as he was given the seal of approval from the 5-time Ballon d'Or winner. "I met the whole team, but with Ronaldo specifically, I spoke with him for about half an hour. He knows a whole bunch about the UFC, he's a huge fan, he said he's going to be at the fight, and he said that I have potential to be the champ." The card for April's UFC 314 pay-per-view is beginning to take shape, and it looks to have had its first title fight added. Mixed martial arts' leading promotion is slated to return to the Kaseya Center in the Magic City on April 12th, when its 4th numbered event of 2025 will go down. While the lineup is in its early days of being formed, one of the most prominent spots on the card has seemingly been filled, with UFC flyweight champion Alexandre Pantoja taking the co-main event for his 4th defense of the title. Per Benny P., an insider when it comes to oceanic fighters who has broken news such as Khamzat Chimav's withdrawal from the Robert Whittaker fight last June, and more recently, Jack Della Madalena's upcoming headliner in London versus Leon Edwards. Pantoja will run it back with Kai Kara France at UFC 314. The Cannibal is riding a 7-fight win streak, during which he's captured the crown from Brandon Moreno and successfully retained it at the expense of Brandon Royval, Steve Erceg, and Kai Asakura. His first challenger of 2025 looks set be a familiar face in Kara France, whom the Brazilian defeated by decision in a quarterfinal bout on The Ultimate Fighter 24 back in 2016. Despite suffering consecutive losses to Moreno and Amir Albazi ahead of his return to action in 2024, Don't Blink looks to have earned his first shot at an undisputed belt at UFC 314 with a thunderous first-round knockout of Erceg at UFC 305 in Perth last August. With this addition, the current fights expected to take place at UFC 314 on April 12th are as follows: Alexandre Pantoja versus Kai Kara France, Gilbert Burns versus Michael Morales, Nikita Krylov versus Dominic Reyes, Verna Jandiroba versus Yan Xiaonan Chase Hooper versus Jim Miller. Paul Hughes isn't sparing a second thought on Conor McGregor's social media outbursts directed at him. Hughes is fresh off a hard-fought 5-round war at PFL Champions Series, Road to Dubai, where he dropped a majority decision to lightweight champion Usman Nurmagomedov this past Saturday. A performance that initially even had McGregor singing his praises. However, all hell broke loose after a video of Big News sharing an in-cage moment with Khabib Nurmagomedov in the aftermath of his fight went viral on social media, where he attempted to distance himself from McGregor. The clip ultimately caught the attention of the Notorious himself. McGregor lashed out at Hughes, firing off a series of now-deleted tweets that mocked his fellow Irishman and targeted his Northern Irish roots. In reply, the 27-year-old first extended a measure of respect to McGregor, all the while probing the former UFC 2 division champion's mental clarity. During a recent appearance on the Ariel Helwani show, Hughes broke down McGregor's social media outburst, calmly stating that he wasn't the slightest bit offended by the UFC superstar's public tirade. Big News explained that he understands McGregor's tendency to let his emotions run wild online, brushing off the insults with an air of indifference.
Like, I wasn't offended at all. And, you know, now a lot of people in Ireland, especially in the north of Ireland, will be like, couldn't be any more deeply offended as the thing he said. But I'm not actually offended or didn't take it personally at all, because it sounds bad, but it just seems like it's another day in his life of being just tweeting madness. You know, it's not like I seen that and went, oh, you know, I can't believe he said this about me. I think it's just another day in the life for him, and I just don't hold weight to his opinion anymore as to these sorts of things. And it's kind of a sad thing to say that, but that's actually just the reality of how I felt. In fact, I kind of just laughed at it when I seen it. It's not something I've been thinking about all day and going, oh, this and my identity and this and that. It's like, yeah, initially I was like, don't come with my identity, like that's ridiculous. But then I was just like, this guy, he's on one, like, and I just don't care, you know. But yeah.
Are we sure Jake Paul still has a vested interest in the PFL? You might be hard-pressed to believe so after he shared some unflattering thoughts about mixed martial arts as a sport compared to boxing. In an interview with All the Smoke Fight released Wednesday, Paul, a YouTuber turned professional boxer, spelled out how boxing continues to grow while MMA experiences a downswing because, in his words, it's becoming a shittier version of boxing. MMA is not what it was. That's the truth of the matter, Paul said. Boxing is bigger than ever. The biggest sporting event of the year in 2024 was boxing, his fight with Mike Tyson, whereas MMA is becoming a shittier version of boxing, essentially. While Paul, for better or worse, has become one of the faces of boxing in the past few years, his words are curious considering he signed a contract with the PFL in January 2023, which made him a partner in the MMA promotion. As recently as last October, Paul took part in promoting the PFL's Battle of the Giants pay-per-view, headlined by Francis Ngannou's highly anticipated return against Renan Ferreira. Paul's interest in MMA, either as a business venture or competing, which he's teased in the past, could be fading as he views the sport in an apparently negative light. It's kickboxing, Paul said, because everyone is getting good takedown defense, and everyone is a black belt in jiu-jitsu, so there's no more submissions, really. There's not a lot of takedowns, and even if there is, it's fucking boring. But everyone is good at takedown defense, so it's literally kickboxing. Guess who the biggest star of the sport is in MMA? Alex Pereira, who's a kickboxer. He's knocking everyone out, and he's the best one because no one can take him down, no one can submit him, so he's just knocking everybody out. But the UFC has less significant strikes per round than boxing, and that's with 5-minute rounds. So boxing is going to stand the test of time because it has since the 1500s. 600 years of boxing. I'm not long on MMA because it's becoming boxing. Sean Strickland sends Dricus du Plessis a warning ahead of UFC 312. Strickland runs things back with middleweight champion du Plessis in the February 8 main event at Kudos Bank Arena in Sydney. The former middleweight champion is adamant that he was robbed in his split decision loss to du Plessis at UFC 297 and plans on marking up the South African's face again in their rematch. It comes down to what I said before about a fucking Dricus on that short bus, Strickland told MMA Junkie. I respect him for it. He goes fucking full send, full fucking send, and I respect him for that. But you know, you're a wrecking ball. I'm a fucking scalpel. It just comes down to who's better. I think I was better last time. I think I'm better this time. I think I'm gonna fucking piece you apart. Your face will look the exact same after, if not worse. Strickland insists things aren't personal with du Plessis, but thinks the judges were swayed by the wrong things in their first fight. I feel like more I got robbed, Strickland said. I feel like that headbutt changed things. It changed the optics, the dynamics. It's not personal in the sense that I hate Dricus. It's just personal in the sense that we need to fight in a fucking 5-round war and see what happens. Weight cutting in MMA has been a problem for decades. Joe Rogan, for one, wants to see a significant rule change in the UFC to eliminate it for good. The longtime UFC color commentator has talked about this problem frequently and did so yet again while speaking with former light heavyweight champion Gigi Prochaska on his podcast. He sees the dangers it causes to fighters' bodies. Rogan said he'd prefer the UFC to implement more weight classes to prevent significant cuts, an idea he pitched to Ari Emanuel when Endeavor bought the promotion's parent company, Zuffa. I think weight cutting should be eliminated, Rogan said on the Joe Rogan Experience. I said this to Ari Emanuel when they first bought the UFC. I said, listen, man, you know what we should do? Get rid of weight cutting. Just stop it. Look, if you can randomly test people for drugs, you can randomly test their weight. Show up with a scale. Hey, buddy, step on the scale. You're 190 pounds? How the fuck are you making 145? Do something like that and come up with more weight classes. There should be a weight class every 10 pounds. This idea of these giant gaps like 185 to 205, that's a 20-pound gap. That's huge. That doesn't exist in boxing. They should have every 10 pounds. 85, 95, 205, 225, and then unlimited. Rogan believes that it should be where the weight cuts are catered around the UFC champions and what they walk around at. That would eliminate wild cuts where fighters lose dozens of pounds. Instead of having weight cuts, just take the champions. Find out what the champion weighs. Like, don't get rid of the championship belts, Rogan said. Find out, what does Islam Makhachev weigh? Islam Makhachev is a UFC champion, best pound-for-pound fighter on earth. Find out what he weighs. What do you weigh if you were healthy? If weight cutting didn't exist? Would it be 185, 190? Whatever that is, that's how you fight now. And we're not going to weigh you in the day before and let you rehydrate. That's crazy talk. Fight people your size. The fights would be better because too many people get depleted horribly. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.